Y'all. Oh my God, I am wrecked. I'm wrecked from that. But in like the best possible way. I don't even know where to begin. Spoilers ahead, obviously, if you haven't seen the last Game of Thrones episode. Specifically, we're talking season 8, episode 3, The Long Night. So when we start off, the tone is super, super different than any other episode. I think, like, I noticed it was so silent. I don't know if any of you guys are into ASMR, but just like the sounds were, it was like silent and wintry and like crinkly. And all throughout just that beginning sequence, we had like these slow pans of like where everyone was. So you had tabs on like where Jon and Dany were, where Brienne was. I'm sorry, Brienne, my God. They're about to be wrecked, man. And I will say too, if you end up reading my article, which, you know, just down below me here, I hate Melisandre. She's not redemptive for me. I know that I should move on and just not hold grudges. So the whole time I'm watching, I'm thinking that. I'm like, Melisandre is gonna mess up, which was dumb of me because consistently she's been talking this Lord of Light thing, but that's my thing too. She apparently can see the future. I think it would have been helpful for her to just like show up a few days before and be like, hey guys, like, look what I can do with your swords, like pre-battle, you know? I think it would have boosted a little bit of morale, but whatever. She shows up and she's like, she does that spell. But that was sick, watching the Dothraki just ride into battle and their swords were there and Ser Jorah was there and it was like, like there's hope. Like I felt so hopeful in that moment. And then they just all get snuffed out. I just was very like, of course this show would wreck me like that. Tyrion in season 1, I remember that conversation he had with Jon Snow and he said something like Jon was joining the Night's Watch and Tyrion was like, oh yeah, Grumpkins and Snarks. And it's like, dude, like, you got played. It's like, dude, now the Grumpkins and Snarks are here and you have to go below to the crypts because you can't defend yourself. I was very interested as well to see Sansa because she just doesn't have like any experience with this. I mean, Tyrion at least has seen a White. I think Sansa is one of the only characters who hadn't seen like dragons, she hadn't seen any of this stuff that we've kind of become acquainted with. I was very interested to see kind of how she dealt with that. Very interested. So then it finally gets started. Sorry, I keep saying wrecked, but I'm wrecked, Winterfell's wrecked, like we wrecked. If you watch the show, if you love the show, everyone knew that Arya would kind of be safe because Melisandre had said, she was like, we'll meet again. She sees Arya and it's like, oh, what is gonna happen? But I didn't really think that Arya would necessarily like go down in this battle, you know? And it's chaos, you know? It's like, like that for 30 minutes. Dany she sees the Dothraki get just wrecked and she decides to, you know, go in and start fighting herself and that kind of messes with their plans a little bit and they can't light, God, what's it called? They can't light that big row, the flank? Was it called the flank? And so anyway, Melisandre comes in and she's doing her spell and it's like, God, is this gonna work? And I love that because it's so, throughout this entire show, we have not known if Melisandre's fake. Like, we have, like, doubts about her. Like, she killed Shireen and just all this stuff. And they really played that up, like, so well in that moment, I thought. I definitely appreciated the conversation down in the crypts that Sansa and Tyrion had. Wow, we're really worthless. Because Sansa, Tyrion, Varys, I don't really know how to say it. They have all been these major political power players and they're just rendered like totally helpless by the situation around them. It's like, I liked how Sansa dealt with that. She was like, the bravest thing we can do now is just look truth in the face, where Tyrion's like, I fought Battle of Blackwater Bay. Like, I thought that was kind of dumb. But then she like goes in a little bit hard on Dany and Missandei has to check her and be like, yeah, there wouldn't be a problem. Like, we're standing here right now, like, relax. And I still kind of don't understand Sansa's beef with Dany. I think within that context, it just doesn't really make sense. Like, if you didn't have this, if you were cool with Dany, she could like date your brother and like everything would be fine. But so I don't know if they're using Sansa to like make that conflict, but it really kind of seems like it and it's kind of annoying. Anyway, I did really like how they handled Theon Greyjoy. Specifically, I'm thinking of Littlefinger. I don't think his death matched his character, really. I mean, because Theon's not, you know, Jon Snow. He's not Dany. Like, he's not maybe as important as those guys, but He really is an important character, and I think that he deserved. I like that for Theon and his journey, he got that resolution. Like his, and not everyone gets that. Like Robb Stark didn't get that. Catelyn didn't get that. I mean, a lot fewer characters have gotten that sense of like, okay, like he died like well. You know, I was glad that given everything that Theon's been through, that he at least got that. Winterfell turned into like just a house of complete horror, which it had been like a house of horrors before with Ramsay, but not like this. I loved like what ended up happening was that even when Arya was kind of like trying to make her way through that maze of just like dead people, I guess, you had this sense of like she could maybe make it out. And it's like we kind of discounted that. I think all of us who watch, like, we do have this trust in Arya, but we didn't take it like to that next level. We think like, oh, she's gonna wreck Cersei. We didn't think she can do her. That whole conversation with Melisandre and Arya, I felt very much like you could really see Arya's training come out, I think, in her relation to Melisandre in just a different way. Like, she's more accepting of, like, you knew that too. Like, she's seen this very, like, mystical side of this Game of Thrones world, and she's almost more accepting of you know, Melisandre in that way. And then Beric Dondarrion goes down. I totally thought that Melisandre was gonna, like, pull her face off and be like, Syrio. I freaked out. And that didn't end up happening, but whew, I got chills, man. I did get chills. I just loved that slow pan in, just like, what do we say to the god of death? Not today. Oh my god. So then Arya leaves, she like books it. She's about to just destroy some people, yeah. But then a lot of other stuff happens and you kind of forget about Arya for a hot minute. You've got, you know, dragon battles and just like all this stuff is going down. And then the Night King finally makes his way to the Godswood. And during that whole, like when the Night King was kind of walking through the Godswood to Bran, I did kind of think that maybe they had like some kind of a deal. Like there were all of those theories about maybe Bran is the Night King. I was like, is he gonna warg into him? Like I really kind of thought that maybe like that's where it was headed. Which, if you're one of my friends, I had kind of said like, I think something's gonna go down in the Godswood. I think something's gonna go down in the crypts. And it did. And Arya just comes up, she's like, "Da!" And she kills him. That's why this show is so great. Game of Thrones has dealt with a fan base that is so obsessive in picking apart every detail, and we didn't really pick apart this one. We were all obsessed with, ooh, there has to be a Stark in Winterfell. You know, we thought that might be something. Like, despite all of Arya's associations with, like, the many-faced god, like death, and despite the Night King's association with, like, he's the god of death, we didn't really put the two together. It made perfect sense for Arya to be the one to finally take him out. It was my favorite twist for sure, like in this entire show, because they had already kind of proven they could do the sad twist. They'll do the Ned Stark, the Red Wedding. They're very good at killing Starks on this show. It was done in the most perfect way. And she did it with the dagger that like originally started everything off. And then after the battle, after everyone falls, like Melisandre just walks out. And I loved how they had Sir Davos behind her kind of watching, because he's like a proxy in the same way that like Samwell is a proxy for like the audience's nerves in the beginning. Davos has always been a proxy for the audience's like doubts about Melisandre. Dang, like her job is fulfilled. She did what she had to do. And now I guess moving forward, I'm interested to see the ways in which we're gonna be like destroyed even further. And I think the whole conversation with Sansa and Tyrion, when she's kind of, you know, ripping on Dany a little bit, that conflict is not resolved. And it's kind of the feeling of like, yeah, maybe the world as a whole is safer. Like in general, all these people that we don't care about are safe. But our characters who we've been following, they're still not safe. All of this Thrones drama that's gonna come out after the Night King, you know, gets defeated, it's like no one's still safe. I just feel, you know, It's just a lot. It's a lot. But you know what? I'll be right here in my bed with my wine next week. Bye, guys.